absolute cinema. That's the only way I can describe this book. Put it in the classics. I'll say it. That's how good this book is. Put it in the classics. Fairy Tale by Stephen King. Literally one of the greatest books he has made. And I'm shocked that I'm saying this about one of his newer works because a lot of the new works, new writings, new books that Stephen King has written, I have not been a big fan of. But this, wow, like I've said this before. I picked up this book when it first came out in 2022, and then I dropped it like a little bit halfway, almost halfway. I dropped it. I don't know why. And I picked it up again recently, and I gotta say, I'm so glad that I gave this book another chance. I started over from the beginning. I read the whole thing, and it took me a while to finish because, and I know I haven't uploaded anything for a book that I've completed because I've just been so busy. But I'm so glad I gave this book another chance because it was phenomenal. I'm gonna get into spoilers, but I'm gonna give my thoughts, and I'm gonna get into spoilers. But before I do, uh, I will say this that if you don't want spoilers and you want to read this book, give it a chance. So this book is about a 17-year-old. He discovered this other world, like a dimension, and in that world there is a sundial that can reverse age or make age go forward. And he has a dog that's dying, and his goal is to get to that sundial and reverse the dog's age. That's all I'm gonna leave it at. And now I'm gonna get into spoilers and what I think of the book and and any complaints I have, which are very little complaints for a Stephen King book. I'm so happy that I really enjoyed this book. So, like I said, this book is about a boy, a 17-year-old boy, and he has a dog that's old and sick, and he discovered this other world. So, how does he discover this other world? He discovered this other world by meeting this elderly man. So he meets this elderly man because he fell off his ladder and he was in trouble. He heard the dogs cry for help. He goes into the back of the house and he sees the elderly man needs help. He calls the ambulance and he saves his life. Um, the 17-year-old becomes the elderly man. His name is Mr. Bowditch. He becomes Bowditch's caretaker for a while. And he becomes his caretaker because Charlie, the main character, he in his perspective, he has made a sort of deal with God. He made sort of a deal with God when he was younger because his father was an alcoholic because of his mother who passed away. Charlie's mother passed away. The father's wife passed away. And he became an alcoholic after that, and he kind of became deadbeat after that. Like, wouldn't really take care of himself, wouldn't really take care of his son. And Charlie was around 10 years old at that time, and he was the one who would, like, make breakfast or have to take care of his father. His father vomited, he had to clean it up. And Charlie basically prayed to God that to fix things, to make things better, and if he does, Charlie will repay that back. And throughout Charlie's life, he's had this sort of a little perspective where he does these good deeds because he feels like he has to, because he made this deal with God. But in his heart, he knows that all these deeds still do not add up because his father got back on his feet. His father stopped drinking alcohol. His father got his job back. They were able to pay off for their house and everything. So Charlie feels like all the good deeds he's done is still not enough. Like in his heart, in the back of his mind, he knows that there's still something that needs to be done even more, even more. And that's when Mr. Bowditch comes in and he becomes Mr. Bowditch's caretaker. In Charlie's heart, he knows this is it. This is where God has put me. This is where I'm supposed to do my good deed. So he becomes his caretaker. And they form a sort of bond, a close bond, a very weird bond. Mr. Bowditch is a rude guy, but he starts taking a liking to Charlie. And uh, like this story, I would say picks up a lot once you reach like page like 130. That's when it gets picked up. So, so it gets picked up around there, and um, I just want to say before I continue, the pacing in this book is so phenomenal. Everything was paced perfectly, like, which is so mind blowing to me again, because I'm reading a Stephen King book and my expectations were very low, and this book just exceeded my expectations so much. Everything in this book was so well paced, so put together. Like I'm shocked that this is one of his newer works and it's just that good. I'm comparing it to one of his older works, you know. Everything in the book is so beautifully paced, okay? So this whole section with Charlie meeting Bowditch, Charlie taking care of Bowditch, you know, it's so well paced. And the sections after that are so well paced, you know. So um what was that? Where was I? Yeah, so they're very well paced, and basically, back to what I was saying. Eventually, Mr. Bowditch passes away, but before he passes away, he leaves a recording to Charlie, like a voice recording on like a little old tape cassette thing, whatever you call it. And he basically tells him, "Listen, like there are things that you will not understand, but I want you to do this, okay?" And he explains like how he he lived a long time. He's more than like 120 years old or something, or 130. I forgot what the number was, but it was a pretty high 100 number. And he tells Charlie, he's like, I know you're not gonna believe this, but you gotta check the shed. There's a stairway that leads down and it leads to another world. And there's a sundial there that can reverse age. That's what I've been doing to myself. I've been reversing my age every time and coming back here and giving myself a new name. And and Radar, which is Bowditch's dog, Charlie has also made this connection with Radar. You know, he falls in love with Radar, like he loves his dog, you know. And Mr. Bowditch is like, listen, I know you love this dog, and I need you to do this. I need you to go to this world and put Radar on this sundial and reverse her age because Radar is dying in this story. Radar is old and sick and she's limping and it's just very sad to read, like especially when it comes to like an animal. And I felt so bad for Radar, and with all my heart, I'm just hoping that as I read this book, Radar survives. Please let Radar survive. Charlie could die. I don't care. Everybody else could die in the book. I don't care, but just let the dog live, because knowing Stephen King, knowing how he writes his endings, they get me so mad, so frustrated, and it frustrates me so much. It does. I'll talk about the ending as I get closer to that. So yeah, Bowditch leaves the recording, and he basically tells Charlie about this other world, and Charlie goes and checks it out, and he's like, "Holy moly, this is real. This is a different world. I'm underground, but there's a sky." And the way Stephen King describes this other world is like it's beautiful. It is truly beautiful. Like I'm looking at the what part I was gonna talk about next after this. Okay, yeah. So the way Stephen King describes this world, everything is just so beautifully written. The way he describes it makes me feel like I'm actually there. The red poppies, right? The flowers, the palaces, the gates, the destroyed towns and villages, and the people of Empis, which is the name of the other world. It's just so beautifully written. Like it blew my mind. This book was so good. And before I keep going with this video, please give this book a chance. Even if you don't like Stephen King, if you like a fantasy novel, if you like an adult fantasy novel that has and is very fairy tale-ish, just give this book a chance. So before I continue, please just give this book a chance. Alright. So he enters this world, and before he enters the world, once he hears Bowditch's recording, he starts realizing all these different things. Like, yo, like this world I'm in right now, my world, it's almost like a fairy tale. because he meets this guy who reminds him of Rumpelstiltskin. He meets someone else that reminds him of this, someone else. You know, there's so many different things that he gets reminded of, and he just starts having this doubt. Like, you know, like he meets this guy who tries to rob him, and he reminded him so much of Rumpelstiltskin. But anyways, there's a lot of references in this book about other books and stories. There's like so many Game of Thrones, Star Wars, fairy tales, so many different references that I have written down. I'll get into later. But yeah, he discovers this world, and it's beautifully written, beautifully written, and he meets the characters in this world one by one. Again, like, the pacing is beautiful. Now I'm up to this section where I'm talking about where he is in the world of Empis. Beautiful pacing. He gets introduced to these characters, different characters, and they recognize Radar because Bowditch was in this world with Radar many times, many times he's been there, and they love Radar. They love Radar. They show love to her, and they show love to Charlie because they're like, you're Bowditch's friend, you know, so you're always at home with us. They take care of him. They feed him. You know, they know he has a dangerous journey ahead. They warn him. They tell him that um the palace is not what it used to be. There is there's evil about now, and as he meets these people, the first person he met was Dora, and Dora is has a disfigured face, and he starts learning why. He starts learning that the people of Empis are cursed by a disease called the Gray. It turns their skin gray. It messes up their mouth. Some people lose their mouth. Some people don't have a nose. Some people are blind. Some people are deaf. And this is all happening. This is all happening because there's evil. There's an evil being in the palace, and they spread this affliction. So I really like the way these characters are written. All these different characters are very unique, very different. Even though they're all suffering from the same disease, every character is so different. The first person he meets, Dora, she's like this a shoe repairer. Like, she repairs shoes, and she does like a trade with her brother, and they give shoes out to people for like tokens or whatever it is. And the second person he meets is Leia, and Leia is actually the queen of Empis. She has no mouth. She has to cut open like a hole in the throat to feed herself through a tube. And I really love the introduction of Leia because of the way she speaks. It's not through her mouth because she doesn't have a mouth. She's I don't know how you say it. Venture. It's the person who makes look like the puppets are talking. She is that, but with her horse, a real horse, and the horse speaks for her. Really cool to read. He meets this other character named Woody, and it's so funny because each of these characters he's meeting is, again, it's like a reference to another book, like the Three Little Pigs, where like each person is living in a little house. There are wolves about at night, and um yeah. So Woody is a blind man, but he knows his way about, and he can. And Mr. Bowditch, when he used to go to Empis, he used to give Woody books to read in Braille for the blind people. And I really like how Stephen King wrote this because Woody talks about Jesus, and the way he talks about him is that this person from your world, you know, like from Charlie's world, from Earth, from where he is from, you know, but not from Empis. So it's really interesting to see all this happening. And um, before I continue, uh, again, like, I know I said this already, but the way Stephen King described this world, in this world there's two moons, and the way King writes it is one of the moons was so large, it looks so close to the world that you can see the craters on the moon. So well written, and just imagining seeing this two moons, one larger than the other, almost touching, like, amazingly written. So yeah, I talked about the characters and their introductions. And yeah, the book has so many references to others: Cinderella, Star Wars, Game of Thrones, Rumpelstiltskin, Three Little Pigs. A lot of different references. Really cool to see. Um, Now the introduction, the pacing for the Empis and his character introduction is done. Charlie goes to the palace. Now the palace is where things get really dangerous. And before he gets to the palace, he meets couple of other people. He meets like this father and son on the way. The father insults him because Charlie is whole faced. He's not affected by the disease. He meets another woman named Claudia, who is deaf and she speaks very loud. Claudia also takes care of him, and Claudia gives him her tricycle, her tri bike, so that he can go with Radar to the palace with ease without having to pull like a cart. All these people are people of the royal family except the father and son. I'm talking about like Leia, Woody, Claudia, and and um I think it was Woody who explains like the backstory of things, and I really enjoyed that too. Really enjoyed the backstory. Again, things are very well put together in this book. So the backstory is about um, when they used to be in the palace in Empis, and things were going very well, and something bad happened. And as that was happening, there was this giant named Hannah who was after the royal family, and she's chasing after them as they're riding away from the car. And one of the, I think, brothers of Leia, he turns around and Hannah just swipes his head clean off. She's a giant, so she's pretty powerful. So yeah, Charlie's at the palace now. He has to get to the sundial. Now things are getting a little tense, and I'm even feeling it. I'm like, please just let this mission be a success. Let this dog live. Let this dog just get her age reversed and live a good life. Okay. As they enter the palace, they make their way through the not the palace, sorry, the city. As they enter in the city, they make their way through, and they reach Hannah. Now Hannah is she's this giant who's a little on the dumb side, I guess you could say, and she's supposed to be guarding the sundial. So Charlie has to find a way to get past her. At one point of the story, Charlie's hiding from her, and she farts, and at that point he didn't care about his life. He started laughing, but luckily he didn't get caught. But Hannah does come back later on. Uh, what was the next part? Okay, yeah, so he gets past Hannah and he reaches the sundial. Now my heart rate is beating like 200 BPM. Holy moly, please just let this be a success. Knowing how Stephen King writes his books, just please let this be a success. He puts the dog on the sundial, he spins it, dog's age is reversed. Dog gets off. I'm like, okay, let's go. Like, but I'm still so tensed up. I'm like, okay, they still gotta get out of here. They still gotta get out of here. Okay. Now at this point, I'm halfway through the book. When the dog's age gets reversed, I'm halfway through the book. So I don't know what's about to happen now. As they're leaving, they get lost. They can't find their way back because the signs of Mr. Bowditch are um are gone. There's this guy named Peterkin. He is this little I think dwarf. I think he was a dwarf or elf. I think yeah, he was a dwarf or something, and he is up to no good because he does not like Charlie. Because in the earlier part of the story, Charlie helps this animal, this cricket, from getting killed by Peterkin, and Peterkin did not like that. So Peterkin technically followed him, I guess, all the way to the city, and now he ruined his mission to get back home. Charlie's lost, and but eventually he does find his way back to the main like way towards the gate of the city, and this is where things got heated. So Charlie's about to escape. He has to open the gate. And as he says the code for the gate's opening very slowly, and in that moment the night soldiers come out. The night soldiers are these people in the story that these evil people that the people of Empis keep telling Charlie like avoid them at all costs. Make sure you're not out at night in the city. It became night. The gates open very slowly. The night soldiers come out and they're running after him. And in my mind, I'm not even thinking about Charlie. I'm thinking about the dog. I'm like, bro, what's about to happen to the dog? The gate opens just enough for the dog to run, but the dog stays. Radar stays. She wants to stay with Charlie. She has that loyalty. And Charlie like hits her a little bit, like go, like get out of here. You know, you have to run. And the dog runs and Charlie gets captured. Oh my god, that whole sequence was so tense for me. Like, even Charlie getting caught was like a surprise to me because I don't know how I was expecting it to happen, but I just couldn't believe Radar escaped. It's like everything I wanted to happen in the book, it was happening, like. And Radar escapes and she runs. She has to run to the nearest home, which was Claudia. Charlie gets captured. So now that section of the book is done. So first section is Charlie in his regular world. He meets Bowditch, takes care of Bowditch. Second is him being introduced to Empis and the people of Empis. The third section is Charlie fulfilling his mission at the city. Sundial is turned, but he gets captured. Now the fourth section of this, I'm going by sections that I consider sections in this book, is Charlie being captured. And again, very everything was very well paced. Charlie gets captured and they take him underground to a place called Deep Maline. Now, in Deep Maline, a lot of characters get introduced. A lot. And most of them don't matter in the story except for a very small group of people. A lot of characters get introduced and like they're in this prison and he's stuck there. And Charlie's like trying to learn from the other prisoners like the history of Empis or what's going on, this and that. These night soldiers are like skeletons who have like this electrical aura around them with their face still showing a little bit. So anybody who touches them, they feel this shock and this depleting of energy. And yeah, so Charlie stuck there for a while. He stuck there for a while, and there's this evil being called the Flight Killer, which does get mentioned at the earlier point in the story, but I just don't bring him up. Flight Killer has taken over this city, him and his night soldiers. We don't know who Flight Killer is yet. When Flight Killer was introduced, and still up to this point of the story in Deep Maline, I assumed Flight Killer was an evil like flying bird, like evil giant bird, because his name was Flight Killer. Like automatically I assumed he was like this big vulture or eagle or hawk or something that was evil that could speak or something. I don't know. It took over the city. That's what I originally assumed. Flight Killer gets prisoners that are whole, that are not sick, and he's looking for his 32nd person, I believe. And eventually that person comes in, and now Flight Killer is holding games. It's like Squid Games. Okay, it's a fight to the death. Each person fights one other person. Charlie does form a bond with a couple of small group of people, and they have to kill each other now. So the first day happens, and then the second day, and I think on the third day, um, one of the people in on the second day, one of the people in Deep Maline, the person who works for Flight Killer, he wants to help Charlie escape because Charlie. There's a lot I'm leaving out in this story. I'm sorry. Charlie is the promised one. It turns out he is the promised prince, and the prince is supposed to be blonde hair, blue eyed. But Charlie has like brownish or blackish hair with black eyes, brown eyes. But um, in the prison, Charlie starts realizing his hair is turning blonde, his eyes are turning blue. Other prisoners start to notice too, and one of the people working for Flight Killer ends up wanting to help him because he's the true prince. So he helps him escape. They use I forgot how Charlie found out, but they use like buckets of water. But I guess Charlie found out like I mean they're made out of electricity. I mean obviously buckets of water, but there was like a certain point. I think it was like a dream or something. I don't know, but yeah. Oh, and this in Deep Maline, this is where Charlie's I wouldn't say character development, but I'll say like temporary character development starts beginning because this is where his character development for him becoming a prince starts. And I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of corny because Charlie's like, oh, I'm the dark one. I'll become the dark one. My dark side's coming out. It gives the same energy as I'm the alpha wolf, or when I'm mad, I see red, like it kind of gave off that vibe. But this is where in when Charlie has to battle the person, the little Squid Games thing for Flight Killer, he has to kill somebody. But it was one of the prisoners that he did not get along with. So Charlie kills him. There was like a little battle and Charlie kills him. They also reveal who Flight Killer is during the games. And Flight Killer is a man named Eldon. Eldon turns out to be Leia's brother, which means he was part of royalty. He is this very, very ugly person who does not even look human anymore. He's messed up. And what happened was, Eldon, as a boy, he was not a good looking kid. He always got picked on, always got bullied by his older sisters and brothers. Leia was the only one who would treat him kindly. They would explore the palace, explore the city, they would explore all these things together. And at one point, Eldon wanted to go into the deep layer. And the deep layer is a place that's forbidden. It has evil lurking inside. Leia did not go, but she did wait for him on the outskirts of it. And he didn't come back, from what I remember. He didn't come back. But in the deep layer, Eldon meets a creature named Gogmagog. That's the name, literally, Gogmagog. Gogmagog is this sort of evil god living below everything. And I guess Gogmagog gave Eldon the powers of spreading this sickness, the gray, the disease. And that's where, things start off in this section of Charlie's story. So now Eldon's at the game, and Charlie sees him. But after that game ends, they decide to escape. So they get these buckets of water. Again, very tense, a lot of very tense moments in this book. Very edge of your seat moments, And I am at the edge of my seat reading this. So they all have these buckets of water. The first night guard comes in, boom, they throw the water on him. He explodes into pieces, bones flying everywhere, shrapnel, sharp bones, it's hitting some of these guys. They're running, they're escaping, and they're using the water as their weapon, and eventually they escape. One of the characters did die on the way. Now, as they escape and they're above ground again, and as they're leaving, um, oh, they also wanted to kill one of the main night guards who was treating them like shit and everything. So when they went to try to kill him, there's the red cricket. I'm not talking about the red cricket a lot, but the red cricket Charlie saves at the beginning of the story does play a huge, huge role in the later books, and this is where he plays his role. He helps Charlie with the escape. The red cricket is like this king of small creatures, and he summons these rats, okay, and these rats just swarm. What Aaron? Aaron is one of the main night guards who was shooting everybody like shit. Swarms Aaron, and he dies like a horrible death with the rash just like gnawing at him, and as they're dying, even though they're dying by touching him with electricity, there's just too many to handle. So they escape, and they have to. Oh, there and in the games there was another giant. Her name was Red Molly. So Red Molly is the daughter of Hannah. Okay, she has spiky orange hair, red hair, and she loves to fight. She wants to kill. So as they're escaping, I believe they run into Red Molly, right? Let me check my notes. Hold up, sorry. Uh, the the okay, yeah. So they run into Red Molly. Trying to remember how the sequence went, but okay, Red Molly appears, and and uh and as Charlie's telling his group to escape, Charlie takes out a gun that he has, and he shoots Molly multiple times. And what I liked about how this went was, even though it wasn't a grand battle, the death was pretty brutal for Red Molly. So she got shot. She was still running after him. She got shot again, still running after him. Then she got shot in the mouth. Now, what killed her was when she started choking. What killed her was that she choked on her own teeth, which was a crazy way to describe a death. Like, I don't think I've seen a death like that in a book, any book that I've read, where someone gets shot in the mouth, their teeth falls down to the throat, and they're choking on their own teeth, and then that's how she dies. There was a funny scene in the when they were captured that I didn't speak about, but I'll speak about it. It made me laugh. So Charlie, while he's in prison, he's keeping himself active. He's a very fit person, very athletic person. So he's keeping himself active. He's doing like this jumping thing where he's raising his knees to his chest and he's slapping his knees. And someone said to him, "You keep doing that, you'll tear your ass into two." So I thought that was pretty funny. But anyways, Red Molly dies, and then they I forgot, they have to confront Hannah again, but I don't remember if that was after Red Molly, like right away, or a little bit time passed by. But okay, I'll say that they left, and then the people of Empis are waiting for them. So basically, what happened was the night guards did appear in the car or whatever, the electric car or whatever, and they're running after him, and now there's no escaping. They don't know what to do, and that is when the monarch butterflies. There's these butterflies in the story that appear every now and then in the story. Very beautiful. The way Stephen King describes it for the first time is when uh one of the characters like tells Woody to come outside in the beginning of the introduction of Empis and the characters, and tells Charlie to look up, and there's like these swarms of butterfly appearing as like the sun is rising, like super beautiful the way things are described in this book. So these butterflies appear and swarm the night guards, and again, like just like the rats, even though they're dying, there's just too many of them, and the butterflies take over and kill every single one of the night guards, and Charlie and his group escape. And now the people of Empis are outside. Everybody, the citizens and the royal family, they came to help Charlie. Okay, Radar was able to go back and tell, like, I guess Claudia saw that Radar was alone and she knew that he needed help, because the Red Cricket is the one that comes breaks into the prison kind of and gives Charlie a note from Claudia. But yeah, I'm leaving out the Red Cricket a lot, which is crazy because it's a major character in the book, even though he barely appeared at first. Um, but yeah, they realize that Eldon will try to summon Gogmagog. And if that happens, as the two moons touch, Gogmagog will appear, and that's it. The world is destroyed, and then he will make his way through Charlie's world. Charlie's world destroyed. Now the goal is to stop Eldon. Leia is in denial of the flight killer being her brother. In her heart, she knows it, but she doesn't wanna admit it. And she still goes with Charlie and the group from the prison. Some of them are too scared and they leave, which was understandable considering the circumstances. As they're going back, they run into Hannah again. Now Hannah's death, I wish, was a little more climatic. She basically died with one bullet because this time Charlie used a different gun, which was Mr. Bowditch's gun, which a handgun that packed a punch, and he shot Hannah right in the head, and she died because they ran into her because she was like mourning Red Molly, her daughter is dead, So there was that. So yeah, they go down, 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 down. They're going down again, going down again. And sorry, when I said one of the characters died from escaping the prison, no, he died as they were going back into the prison, as they were going down. I think that's when he died. I'm getting a little mixed up here. But yeah, they're going down. And eventually they reach the deep layer where Eldon is. And Leah sees her brother. And Leah cuts open where her mouth is supposed to be so she can speak. Crazy, crazy story. She calls out to her brother, and her brother sees her. But it's too late. Gog Magog is appearing, and Eldon didn't even care. Eldon did not care about his sister. He's just this evil, ugly being now. And yeah, Gog Magog appears, and one thing leads to another. There was no fight. Um, Charlie, uh, it was kind of just anticlimactic. Charlie just says Gogmagog's name like 3 times, 4 times, whatever it was, and Gogmagog runs away and he's back into his lair. So that was like the climax of the story where they um have to stop Gogmagog, and they did. After that, there is a part of the story that I really, really liked because of the way Stephen King described it. It was after when they escaped. Um, Alden died, by the way. Alden died, and after they escaped, how? I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying to remember so much. Hold up. Okay, yes, yes. Um, Alden died because so basically Alden was becoming like this weird slimy tentacle monster, right? That was like one of the I guess the perks that God Magog gave him. And but Gog Magog pretty much killed him. Like when he appeared, Gog Magog is this flying creature. Stephen King doesn't really describe too much of it. I wouldn't say it's a dragon, but it's this big, gigantic flying creature that was kind of in the dark. It had glowing eyes, and he basically kills Eldon by like impaling him with its thorns. So that's what happened. So they get rid of Gog Magog and they escape. And Charlie gets injured on the way back from somebody else, and he gets this injury. Okay, so now when they're back, everybody's cheering, everybody's happy. The promised prince of Empis just saved the world. Okay, and now the city is recovering. They're doing repairs, and this is the part I really really liked. The billowing curtains. And if you read the story, you'll know what I'm talking about. Charlie's in this room, and he's recovering, and he's in the palace, and there's like a balcony, okay, outside the room, and there's white curtains. And I don't know why, but I just really, really enjoyed how Stephen King described this, the billowing curtains, the breeze, the air. It just made me feel like I was there. I was experiencing this. So multiple times the billowing curtains are said in the couple of chapters. And yeah, at the end, I'll say this. Very rarely am I satisfied with an ending that Stephen King does. But I am so satisfied with how this ended. Radar survived. Radar became young again. Even though they had to fight Gog Magog and and all these like different enemies and night guards and Elden, the main goal was to make Radar young again, and they accomplished that halfway through. And the fact that Radar survived, that made me so happy. Like I just couldn't believe it. I was fully expecting Radar to die, knowing how Stephen King is. I was just fully expecting it, but he didn't. And yeah, so at the end, um, Charlie has to leave, and I'm not gonna lie, I really wanted him to stay in Empis. I wanted him to become one of the new ruler along with Leia. I wanted that ending too. But at the same time, I know like some things just don't aren't meant to be in a story. And as Charlie leaves, he's gone for like 4 months, I think, total time. And the one thing he's worried about. So as he leaves the world and he's back into his world, he's saying bye to everybody. It was so bittersweet. Him saying bye to everybody. Him saying bye to Dora. Dora, the first person who took care of him when he entered Empis. The first person who fed him. The first person who let him stay at her cottage. Saying bye to Dora. That was just so, in a way, heartbreaking. You know. And in my mind, I'm like, you know what? Maybe he's gonna visit them often. Maybe he's gonna visit them like how Bowditch did. But no, no, he didn't. Because when he leaves, and he's going back to his house to meet his dad, and he has this urge to go back. He has this urge to go back to the world, to live with them, to stay with them, to spend life with them, the people of Empis. But then the one thing that pulls him back is not the fact that if the U.S. military discovers this world, imagine what they would do, the destruction. Bowditch talks about this. Bowditch talks about this in his recording. He says, imagine if this place was found. Imagine what the government would do. they would tear this place apart. Resources, war, killing everybody, and bringing back the resources to the USA. Very accurate, like, to speak about that, because that is what this country would do, if they ever found a place like that. So, yeah, so he has this urge to go back, but the one thing that stops him is not it's not even like the first thing he thinks of. Oh, that world's gonna get destroyed if people find it. It's his father. His father. He's worried about his father. Did he start drinking again? Was he so stressed about Charlie missing that he started drinking again? If he drank again, Charlie will be heartbroken. So Charlie goes back home, and thankfully his father wasn't drinking. But when his father sees Charlie again, because there were missing posters everywhere about Charlie, missing boy, missing boy. His father starts crying, and Charlie starts crying, and they hug, and they have this reunion. And his father's like, "Where have you been?" And Charlie has to tell him the truth. He doesn't tell him everything. He tells him the basic story of it. Look, this is Radar. She's young again. There's your proof. And reading. Oh, sorry. Hold up. He wants to get off. Reading this story about a 17-year-old who would do everything to save his dog, who put his life and limb for his dog. Especially if you have a pet, I feel like you would just notice, you would just feel more of the story. So yeah, um, he tells his father the truth about what happened, and his father doesn't believe it at first, but eventually the proof started adding up. He even showed his father the world, and this is where, oh my god, I just felt so sad reading this. They're sitting at the entrance to the world, right? They're inside the world, and Dora's cottage is right there. And Charlie said, I did not want to see her. And I didn't want my dad meeting anybody because this place needs to be hidden. I didn't want anybody seeing me again. So as they leave, Charlie and his dad, they cover up that hole with like cement. They did the research, a permanent cover up so that this place will never be found. That's how the story ended. And I'm very satisfied because to me, the first ending of this book is when everything worked out and Charlie was in the past recovering and the billowing curtains and everybody celebrating. That's the first ending for me. And I wish Charlie stayed, but I know that the way it was, he couldn't because this world would be in danger if he did stay. So, yeah, it was such a great story. Now, I have just two complaints, which aren't even that big. One of the complaints was Gogmagog. This build up towards Gogmagog. I really wish that um there was a battle with Gogmagog. Not just Charlie saying Gogmagog's name like it's Bloody Mary out here or something. I wish it was like that. I wish there was a battle with Gogmagog, but there wasn't. And the way the story was going, this really could be a trilogy. In all honesty, this really could. The way it ended, it won't be a trilogy now. But the way it was going could have been a trilogy. It could have been like, at the end of this book, um, Eldon revives Gogmagog fully, takes over Empis. Second book is them scattered, but they're grouping back together. They're making a plan. They're fighting their way. And the third book could have been like them finally confronting Gogmagog and taking him down. Like it could have gone like that. This story could have gone like that. Would have been great. A lot of the things in this story kind of remind me of something like out of a video game. Again, very fantasy like, very fairy tale like. So yeah, battle with Gogmagog, super super anticlimactic. Like I wish there was a proper fight somehow, but there's no swords here or whatever. Leia has a sword, but that's about it. You know. But yeah, this story, what I'm telling you is like basically like a summary of each section that I read. I'm not going like crazy deep into like the characters, like the scab, the red cricket. It is a very emotional story, super emotional, super like sweet, bittersweet. It's so good. And my other complaint was again like I really wish Charlie stayed somehow in the Empis, but he couldn't. But the way this ended, the way the story was, everything was paced so perfectly. The first part of the book, Bowditch, Charlie meeting, being the caretaker, Bowditch telling him about the world. The second part of the book, Empis, character introductions, him journeying through Empis. The third section of the part of the book, him at the palace, him seeing Hannah, him using the sundial to get Radar young again. The fourth part of the book, or fourth section of the book, him getting captured, him and Deep Maline, him doing the Squid Game thing, you know, with the fight to the death, him and their escape. And the fifth part and section of the book was them going back, confronting Eldon, stopping Gogmagog. And the sixth section of the book is the recovery, the billowing white curtains, the city being repaired, the people of Empis. And by the way, when they defeated Gogmagog, that disease, the gray, started lifting. Very, very happy ending. It started lifting. People were able to speak again. People got their mouths back. People's skin stopped being gray. Like, a great ending to a great book. Everything was paced so perfectly. I cannot praise this enough. Even if you don't like Stephen King's book, please give this a chance. I think anybody could fall in love with a story like this. But yeah, I know this is a super long video. And thank you guys for watching the video. Um, I know I said I would read Lord of the Rings book 2 after this, but I have a book almost overdue at the library, so I have to read that quickly. And I'll make a video on that soon. I'll tell you guys which book that is. But great book, amazing book, well paced, beautifully written, amazing characters, emotional storyline, beautiful world like world building. The description of the world is beautiful. The way Stephen King describes a lot of the things in this world is so beautifully written. Give this book a chance, guys. Thank you guys for watching the video. I'll see you guys next time.